All righty. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, and welcome to another episode of INSPINAR. INSPINAR is INSPINAR is an inspirational conversation, a 30-minute inspirational conversation designed to empower all of us together with the roadmap for a more peaceful and productive life. I'm your host, Dr. Nidhi Gupta. Today, it is my privilege to welcome our expert guest, Giovanni Gonzalez. I started working with Giovanni about a year ago in the context of receiving leadership coaching from him. I'm not exaggerating when I say that my career took a complete 180-degree turn for the better under his guidance and mentorship. Giovanni's coaching is incredibly effective without being pushy. By way of formal introduction, Giovanni is a best-selling author and an authority on leadership development. He was born in Colombia, lived in Belize, and currently resides in Atlanta, Georgia. As an immigrant, Giovanni sold newspapers at traffic lights, washed dishes in restaurants, was a driver, and now he's the founder and CEO of Mindful Performance Blueprint and the creator of the 3-day leadership course, Access the Leader Within. Welcome to the show, Giovanni.
Dr. Gupta, my goodness, what a way to introduce someone. I'm inspired and I am humbled. Thank you for having me. And thank you for saying those kind words, Dr. Gupta. It means the world to me.
Thank you. So the question for the day today is, and this is something that I really wanted to share with my audience as a physician, as an aspiring leader, as a newish entrepreneur, how having a leadership coach elevates your personal and professional capacity to grow. So tell us more about it, Giovanni.
Thank you, Dr. Gupta. So one of the things that it is, in my opinion, in most people's blind spots as they're developing their career, certainly wasn't mine. It was to look for an external opinion on how to navigate one's growth and development or how to navigate one's professional growth. Given that it seems that naturally for people, at least it was for myself at the beginning, was that I was supposed to know how to grow professionally. I was supposed to know how to grow personally. I was supposed to know how to communicate better. I was supposed to know how to influence others. I was supposed to know how to be more effective in life. Like those things are supposed to be natural. And I think that as it was for me, and I think that for most people, that growth, if you will, that growth and development vision that everyone has, most people want to be intuitive about that. And they want to collect information. They do this naturally. They collect information from the environment, from our friends, from our significant other, from our bosses, from our teachers. And we sort of like naturally and intuitively collect all that information. And then we go about our life, and some things work, some things don't work. And then we make mistakes. And then we do a few things that we shouldn't have done. And then it creates a defense mechanism, if you will. We say things like, well, I will never do that again. And so we start boxing our lives in this, we start boxing the possibility of our lives in this world of, well, I'm not going to do that again. And I'm not going to do that again. I'm not going to do that again, naturally. And then we get to some place in our life, wherever that is professionally or in our business, where we say, and consciously we say, this is it for me. This is the life I'm supposed to have. This is my ultimate growth. And we see other people's growth, or we compare ourselves with other people as if they have something special, or as if they have something, they have a better environment, or they have better contacts, or they have more resources. And we sort of distance ourselves from the life we truly want, or from the professional growth that we really want, we sort of distance ourselves, and we get to this plateau in life. And then from there, the growth is very predictable. You know, we grow a little bit, maybe, or maybe we stop growing slowly, but it's very predictable, whichever one it is. Either the growth, it's very predictable, it's just a little bit, maybe a promotion, and then for another 10 years, another promotion, or maybe I move into a new state from a similar job. And but all these dreams and all this potential that everyone has, we don't want to visit. We don't want to rock the boat, because I don't want to lose what I have already created for myself. And so a leadership coach or a life coach, or someone that has an experience of how to give people access to many different angles, opens up a world for people. It just does naturally. It's like, oh, all of a sudden I have an ability to have people have an ability to have conversations they never had before. All of a sudden they have this ability to ask for requests, to ask for things from people in a manner in which they never had before. So people begin, when they have a leadership coach or when they have a performance coach, they begin to have conversations. They begin to take actions that are relatively simple. However, they have a profound impact. And so that's why I say that, well, that's why I have a coach always in my life in some degree or another in many areas of my life. And that's why I always invite people to have either have coaching sessions with me or with anyone, to provide that kind of different angles in one's life.
That is so true, Giovanni. When you talk about how we put ourselves in a box, I think for high-functioning professions such as physicians or engineers or investment bankers, that holds really true, because we like to stick to a certain stereotype, and we are scared of breaking that stereotype. What if it doesn't work? What if it doesn't turn out the way we imagine it to be? And then people will be like, well, this is what you trained to do. Why didn't you stick to doing what you were trained to do? Why are you trying to do something different? What is it in for you? So as a coach, what are some strategies that you use to bridge that gap? How do you navigate individuals out of that box and then keep them motivated enough to stay out of the box, even though they might not get immediate results?
I think that that's a very big question, Dr. Gupta. How do we navigate out of the comfort zone? And one of the things that I've now have come to notice, have to come to realize, is that for the most part, when the student state is ready, the teacher will appear, for the most part. And so people are already looking to be outside of the box. People are already starting to look at the box that they're already in with a certain discomfort. Like, yeah, I got the life I like, or yeah, I really don't like the life. Well, let me start from the beginning. Yeah, maybe I have the life I like. Maybe I have the life I love, but I'm not fully fulfilled. It's not all for me. And so they already have questions within themselves about the possibility of being outside of the comfort zone. Or there are some people who are really in pain financially or emotionally, where they finally come to this place where they say to themselves, I can no longer keep doing the same thing, justifying why I'm doing it. It's no longer something they want to tolerate. And so when people find themselves in those two places, and I get a chance to have a conversation with them, I first look at what is it that they are running away from? What is it that they're running away from? And depending on where the conversation is, what I try to discover is a place where they can be at home with the way things are and the way they're not. I first try to look at that, given that trying to run away from pain usually doesn't work. but allowing oneself to actually be with the pain that I am in. Like, for example, if someone is with the life they love, but they're not comfortable. Well, what is it about the life I have right now that I love, but I don't want it anymore? What is it about that? And when people are able to give language to that, they're able to describe that, there is already a freedom there. Like, oh, okay. Or if someone is going through a real emotional pain or a real financial pain, well, what is it about it that can't be the way that it is? What is it about being homeless? I had a client at some point that was actually got himself to a homeless place. Well, what is it about it that it is wrong? And when they say it, then there is this freedom. Once there is freedom, then new actions are available. Does that make sense?
It does. It does make a lot of sense. And I'm guessing it takes several sessions of peeling back the layers of what a person is going through before you can actually start giving them actionable advice. Is that right? And do you think people sometimes expect advice in the first session and want results right away? Do you think people have the patience to let you peel their layers so that you can actually help them?
In my experience, coaching people, the way I like it, coaching people is not something I force. Given that when I'm coaching someone, I really care about where the person is. So I don't use any sales techniques to close someone. There are sales techniques to close someone right away, but I don't look for those. I personally don't like those necessarily. I don't think they're necessary, because in the kind of client I want to have is the one that can see, oh, there is chemistry from a human to human connection, where I want to have a number of conversations with this person. They want to have conversations with me. And in addition, the actionable actions, if you will, the actions that people are looking for to take on right away are more often than not right in front of them. I don't really need to tell them what they need to do, because it's always there for the most part. They just don't take it because they're dealing with something else, some guilt, some shame about where they're at. But when there is freedom about where I am and where I'm not, about the money I have and the money I'm not, or where I am emotionally and where I'm not, when there's freedom, usually that action is right away available for them. And then usually we talk about it. Sometimes we talk about it right on the first session. So, because I always like to ask people, so what do you see now? What can you do now with what you're seeing? And that immediate action that gives freedom, or that gets results, is usually right away for them, right in front of them. So that's how a little bit of how real coaching happens.
This is so fascinating, Giovanni. Let's travel back in time a little bit. And I'm curious and very interested to know what led you to become a leadership coach. You were not always a leadership coach. You didn't think in high school that, oh, when I grow up, I'm going to be a leadership coach. And there you are, the CEO of Mindful Performance. So what is your story? What led you to be in the place where you are now?
Yes, thank you. I grew up in Colombia. I'm from Colombia, and I grew up in Colombia, and also I grew up in Belize. And in many ways, I wanted to create a life for myself in which I was financially stable. I never cared what it was going to be, whether it was an accountant, whether it was an architect, I never looked at entrepreneurship as a possibility. In Colombia, or the way I grew up, being an entrepreneur, in my family, it almost occurred as someone who's not smart. That's what you do when you don't go to school. And the ultimate goal was to go to school. And so I had this twisted conflict internally about being in business for myself. So my ultimate goal was just go to university. And when I came to the United States, as you read at the beginning, I initially started selling newspapers at traffic lights and being a busboy and a dishwasher and a chauffeur. And I did that for many years. And I couldn't get myself out of being a waiter world. I couldn't. I did that for 6 years. And I was really looking at how to become a better waiter or how to work at a better restaurant so that I can get better tips and maybe hopefully I become a manager of that restaurant. And so that's as far as I saw myself, until I met someone by accident in a soccer field. And she was looking to grow a sales team for her Hispanic community, for the Hispanic sale market. And my cousin was better suited for, at the time I was doing dishes, I was a dishwasher. So my cousin was a better suited, person, but he didn't speak English as well. So he brought me along so that I could translate. And she was talking about selling some mattresses, and the commission for the mattresses was selling one mattress was basically my entire salary for the whole month. And that opened up something for me. I was like, what? I'm working 60 hours a week, and I don't make that kind of money by selling one mattress. So I got really curious. And I had really bad habits at the time. I was, going to sleep way later than I should, and smoking the wrong thing, drinking the wrong thing. And that was my life. And I could tell at that point of my life that I was going in this direction, but I wanted another direction for my life. And initially, this person, her name is Donna Page, initially, she showed me that absent of thinking differently, my life was going to be the same. That it wasn't about the environment. It wasn't about what I was doing that was going to make a difference. It was about thinking differently. And I didn't know how to do that. And so she first enrolled me in this kind of a leadership retreat and a leadership course. She made me do it. She coerced me. And I went to this leadership course with my hands like this, and I felt like she was just wrong. I mean, I already knew everything there was to know about life. And in that course, I started to notice something that changed my life forever. That the way life is and the way I see life are two different things. And so all of my issues, all of my problems at that moment became clear. The reason why I have the reason why I'm dealing with the reason why I'm dealing with the things I'm dealing with is because of the way I see them, not because of the way they are. And that shifted something dramatic for me. And at that point, I said to myself, I want to understand what this human being is doing to me that is changing my life. I want to understand it. And hopefully one day I can do that for others. That was the first ground landmark moment in my life. That was the first one. The second one was when I had a skydiving accident. And I had already built a professional career for myself, but the skydiving accident led me to be in bed for about 4 months without walking for about 6 to 8 months. And so that led me to lose everything I had built, my houses, my career, my business. I lost everything. And so then I had to really question myself, my leadership. I don't have a team. I don't have a community. I don't have any of those things. I'm really going to have to deal with a recession in my life because I don't have an environment that sustains my growth. And so that was the beginning of why I started looking at leadership as a possibility for my life. And then there's so many other things to share about. But those were the two landmark moments of my life that led me to think differently.
Earlier in the conversation, you had mentioned that you take leadership coaching as well. Is that correct?
Yes, all the time.
So now I'm interested, what could potentially a person who is himself a leadership coach and helps other people sort out the tangles of their professions learn from his own coach?
I'm always interested in looking for my blind spots, always looking at that. I am one of the things that I've discovered recently is that I am never not going to be a human being. And being a human being comes with stages. A different stage of each of my life brings a different challenge. And at the same time, that's personally. And at the same time, the growth of our business also has a different challenge. And right now, our business has been at its peak. Yet, just because I'm at its peak and I'm a really good place in comparison to the past, it doesn't mean I have a lot of holes that I can't see, not only for the way business are right now, but also for the possibility of the way the business could be. And also who I am for my clients. And I want my clients' growth as much as I want my growth. And so if I'm not looking for my blind spots, I'm almost telling my clients unconsciously, you don't have blind spots. So I'm always looking for those all the time. And I find them all the time.
There is so much power in being vulnerable, in knowing that a person is not perfect. There is so much power in that. That's where I think growth happens. Otherwise, over time, it's very easy for an individual to put themselves in their own box that, hey, I do so much and I help other people, and so I must be really good. So along those lines, Giovanni, when you coach professionals, do you come across the issue of burnout? As part of your coaching, do you also include lifestyle coaching? Do you get a sense of what is it in their lifestyle that needs to change? Eating healthy, exercising, sleeping. Is that a part of your guidance as well?
Yes, absolutely. I think that every time I'm in front of a room, I always say, raise your hand if you're stressed. And everybody raises, 90% of the room are stressed out. Raise your hand if you have anxiety, and 90% of the room raises their hand. Raise your hand if you're burned out, and 90%, 85% of the room is always burned out. And when there is what I say in front of a room to a large number of people, and then there's what I say when it's one-on-one. And so I'm going to give you some sense of what I say, or what I discover when it's just one-on-one. Being burnout is a function, if you will, of their person blind spot. It's a blind spot. And I have a lot of compassion for this, but I'm going to be straight about it. Being burnout is a function of someone not being present to what they're doing. And so, because people can only do what they're doing right now. That's it. There's no burnout doesn't quite exist if you're present. You're just doing what you're doing at that very moment. However, intuitively, people don't know that. They don't know that their burnout is not a function of what they do. It's not a function of the environment. It's not a function of the stressors. It's not a function of any of that. It's actually a function of their inability to be present, to be in the now. And so that I have a lot of compassion for that, given that there's not a real training often in the marketplace or in corporations about that. And also intuitively, the person, a human being, wants to blame the environment. They want to blame their bosses. They want to blame the system for their burnout. And so when we work one-on-one, then we start, depending on where the person is, we start looking at, well, how are you managing your moment right now? What are you thinking about right now as you're here with me? And usually people bring a whole list of things that they're not doing right now to the conversation. And as we begin to discover all those things and how they can't do anything about it right now, not only because this is what we're doing, we're having a conversation, but also because you and I can never do something that we're not doing right now. Never. So then they start discovering, oh, okay, so the issue I have, if you will, the challenge I have, it's on how to be present to my life at that very moment, how to be present to what I'm doing right now. And when people discover that, then everything changes. It doesn't matter how heavy the environment is, how much pressure there is, then people start managing their present moment much better. They delegate much better. They handle their calendar much better. The whole life turns around. And their system didn't need to turn around. Where we go afterwards is, okay, now how do we change the system that you're in? Because it is something to deal with, but not from a place of burnout, from a place of, okay, now I'm going to go shift that system. I'm going to go change that system. I'm going to exercise leadership to where I'm at. And that's how we navigate it.
I recently read the book Atomic Habits by James Clear, and one of the chapters title is Motivation is Overrated, Environment Matters More. So the fact that we are not able to find time for healthy eating or exercising or sleeping might not have much to do with the fact that we are not motivated. It's easier to change our environment so that our environment will make us do those things when we are supposed to do those things. So that is really good. Thank you for sharing that. I'm interested in knowing for the benefit of our audience, are there particular resources or books or leadership courses that you would recommend that everybody consider?
Yes. Well, I will always recommend my leadership course, which is Access the Leader Within. And currently, for the rest of the year, I don't have one in the calendar in English. In Spanish, I have 2, 3 actually, but not in English. But if I was going to send someone in a direction for a completely makeover of their leadership, I would send them to three educations. One of the human beings that have impacted the most of my leadership is John Maxwell. I have done all of his work and read most of his books. Maybe at this point I've read probably 22 of his books, and he has like 40, but I'm a fan of his thinking and his writing. So whichever book a person picks from John Maxwell, you're in the journey of leadership. Then I absolutely adore and I love Eckhart Tolle. Eckhart Tolle, with his book, The New Earth and The Power of Now, both of those books really allow people to center themselves into the world of being, into the world of who they are, absent of labeling, like I'm a father, I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer. Take away all of that. Who are you? And that's a critical aspect for leadership and living a life fulfilled. And then another journey that I take on is Tony Robbins. Now, Tony Robbins is just way too much energy for me usually. But I love that man. He's a strategist. He manages energy in a profound way that I don't think anybody does better. And then I also love the work that people do at Landmark worldwide. They have this phenomenal conversation to engage people in ontology, in the science of being. And so from those four worlds, wherever people go to start, it would transform who they are, absolutely transform who they are. And I would start from there.
I hope you'll keep us posted on when your next leadership course is going to be scheduled for in English, so that I would personally love to attend it and hopefully encourage other people to attend it as well.
Absolutely. You have to be there, Dr. Gupta.
Thank you, Giovanni. Thank you so much for sharing incredibly invaluable insights on the show today. Is there a parting message that you would like to leave for our audience?
Recently I'm managing this quote. Oh, it's in my life. And it's the one from Dr. Monica Oganda told me. And I think she said she got it from the Course of Miracles. But the quote is, you don't know what things are for. You don't know what things are for. What you do, what you don't do, you don't really know what they're for, how they benefit you, how you can grow from them. And you don't need to know. That's what
Wow.
I want to leave with.
So powerful. I think we spend most of our life trying to figure out what this is for and what lies behind it and what we are not able to see.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Giovanni. I will wrap up our episode with the message. Let's reconnect with what truly matters. Let's reconnect with the real. Let's ungrip devices and grip life. I will see you next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gupta.